Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. My name is Katie Knight. We are going to have a slightly shorter than usual service today so that we have time for small group discussion. As you are welcome here. Visitor, friend, or longtime member, you are welcome here. With little children, or your partner, or alone, we joyfully welcome you here. You are welcome here as believer or doubter, as joiner or loner. You are welcome here. Feeling a part of us or not, full of energy or not, seeking a vision or rest, you are welcome to join us as you are. And our land acknowledgement is that we are in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish, Nez Perce, Blackfeet, and Anishinaabe people who shared the Helena Valley as hunting grounds. The indigenous story of the Helena Valley began long before the arrival of Europeans. We honor those who walked here before us. We honor the path they have shown us in caring for this place for generations to come. We strive for justice and fair relations with their descendants. And I've noticed that often worship leaders get to the word Anishinaabe and they're not quite sure how to pronounce it. Anishinaabe is the people's name for themselves. French called them Chippewa, English called them Ojibwe. And we are going to light the chalice, so Harrison and Agnes will help us. Please read with me from the order of service. We read aloud. Love is our greatest purpose. We affirm that love is our greatest purpose. Accepting one another is the truest form of faithful living. The search for truth is our constant star. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to find hope in times of fear, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as a beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. And there is a typo in the order of service. The book we're using is Singing the Living Journey. It's the turquoise book. We'll sing number 1064. Judy picked out songs for us this morning. She started with one that is very familiar and assuring, and then the closing song will be a little bit more edgy, right, Judy? Yeah, so.
It's got a time signature that'll set your heart rate into some kind of fibrillation.
Mountains and plains,
we are going to do a song for all ages, and it is a round. So Judy, why did you choose a round instead of a spoken story?
Okay. Well, when, do I have this on still? When Katie was talking about what that we were going to be talking about covenant this morning and working on covenant, I thought, well, for children and for all of us, covenant really means an agreement. So we decided we're going to do something. So, Harrison, would you like to bring your mom up here a minute? Just come by. Who else? Do we have any other young? Oh, Brittany, can you bring your kids up here? We're not going to sit on the steps. We're just going to stand right here because we are going to do a musical agreement. Yeah. So if you kids can face this way, this is going to be your side. And Harrison and I, this is going to be our side over here. And we're going to sing the same song, but we are going to agree to sing it at in different times. So we're going to start it, and then they're going to start it, or they're going to start it, and we're going to start it. Does anybody know what this is called? When you sing a song, but one group starts at one? A round. Yeah, and a round is actually a musical model of a covenant. So if we sing the song first, and we just sing it together, it sounds like this. And this is a song that I think none of you probably know. But it's a Moroccan song which I learned at Campfire Girls Camp. And it's got some fun actions. So get ready to clap. Goes like this. Ram, Sam, Sam, ram, Sam, Sam, gooly, 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 ram, Sam, Sam, ram, Sam, Sam, ram, Sam, Sam, gooly, whoops, gooly, 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 ram, Sam, Sam, Rafi, gooly, 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 ram, Sam, Sam, Rafi, gooly, 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 ram, Sam, Sam. So I can remember sitting as a counselor with my, do you know that song?
Yeah, I learned it at my music class.
Which class? At school?
Yeah.
Excellent. So this is from Morocco, and it is a round. So if we sing it together, it just sounds like what we just did. So can we do that again? Just everybody all at once. Ram, Sam, Sam, ram, Sam, Sam, gooly, 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 gooly. unison like that. It just sounds like that song, right? But as hard as I've tried over all these years to sing harmony by myself, I cannot do it. I can only sing one note at a time. Now, I have played recorder and played one thing on that and hummed and managed to make harmony that way. But it requires two different groups or two different people to make harmony. So to make harmony this morning, we're going to sing this round, and we'll start over here. And when we get to Arafi, then you folks will start Aram, Sam, Sam. And that way, we have harmony. Are you ready? Let's start. This is our group over here. Actually, let's sing it all together once, and then we'll start. All together. Aram, Sam, Sam, Aram, Sam, Sam, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Aram, Sam, Sam, Aram, Sam, Sam, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Arafi, Arafi, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Arafi, Arafi, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, this group, Aram, Sam, Ram, Sam, Sam, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Ram, Sam, Sam, Ram, Sam, Sam, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Arafi, Arafi, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Arafi, Arafi, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Ram, Sam, Sam, Ram, Sam, Sam, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Ram, Sam, Sam, Ram, Sam, Sam, Gooly, 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 Gooly. Keep singing and listen. Ram, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam, Arafi, Arafi, Gooly, 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 Ram, Sam, Sam. So did you hear the difference between unison and harmony? And that is for children of all ages. We can create something together that doesn't happen all by ourselves. And that is one of the purposes of covenant. So thank you, Harrison. Thank you, Jade, Jasmine, and Lauren. Thank you. And thank you, Katie.
Peace and love go with you. Peace and love go with you. Learn and grow. Learn and grow.
Right. So this morning I'm going to share just a little bit with you about covenant, and then you will have an opportunity to share your covenant ideas with each other in our small groups. Basically, this whole concept of working on covenant came out of a lot of reflection on who we are as a fellowship, where we are in our growth and maturation, and we've had quite a bit of growth with new members in the last couple years. And there's, I think, a strong unspoken feeling of connection. But one thing that happens when you actually start articulating your relationship with your partner or your community, or in this case, our congregation, the act of giving something words and using those words draws things to our consciousness and lets us be so much more intentional about how we get along. It's also a great way of avoiding many conflicts. So there is a book called Unlocking the Power of Covenant. I ordered it, Cass has ordered it. It's also been sent to our fellowship whenever the Unitarian Universalist Association of America commissions a report on a topic they think is really important. They will publish a book from the Commission on Appraisal. So a group of UUs were commissioned to do research on covenant and to publish the results of the research as well as recommendations. And on December 5th, I selected what I thought were 6 of the most relevant covenants from 6 different fellowships and congregations, churches. We have preferences in each group for whether we call ourselves a church or a fellowship, but we are all congregations. So I selected 6 of the ones that I thought might fit us, and 19 of us broke into 6 small groups and analyzed and made recommendations, which I've reflected on. So I want to share a few things from this Unlocking the Power of Covenant, and I'm just going to read a few selections from that book by way of introduction and moving our process along. So they surveyed UU congregations around the country, and several ministers suggested that the combination of the 7 principles and covenants helps to define Unitarian Universalist faith and identity. Well, we're pretty out there with our principles. We look at them every day and we refer to them regularly. Another minister said the principles and the covenants together are lenses through which members of our faith view truth. One suggested that the 7 principles unite us ideologically, and the covenants prescribe how we will be together relationally. Another minister put it this way: a covenant is a within-looking process, and the principles bind us to the association of congregations. That would be all over 1,000 members of the UUA. Another said, covenant is the process and principles are the content. For example, covenants address humility, forgiveness, and mercy, which are not mentioned in the principles. So this commission did some research and surveyed congregations all over the country, asking several questions. One is, does your congregation have a covenant? Well, 89% of the congregation said yes, 11% said no. And they asked, has your congregation used the covenant in the last 6 months? And 85% said yes, 15% said no. I guess we know where we might fall on that, because I haven't heard much about covenant until this past year when we started advocating for it. Another question is, what would make it easy for you to reference the covenant regularly? So let's say you create a covenant. What do you do with it? Well, here were some suggestions. So 25% of respondents said that publicizing and displaying it in the building or on a website or newsletter or order of service would be helpful. 24% said reciting it together. 12% said lay leaders supporting and adopting it. 10% said it would help to ritualize it. 8% said make it a core part of our culture. And 7% said use it in conflict resolution. There's been a little bit of talk about the relationship between covenant and a code of conduct, or how a congregation deals with disruptive behavior. And disruptive behavior is not directly addressed through covenants, but I'm happy to say that our board is starting to look at policies that other congregations use to address disruptive behavior. And fortunately, we haven't had a strong need for that recently, but again, it's part of being proactive. So, lighting a chalice during Sunday morning services is a vital ritual that Unitarian Universalists can confidently know is taking place in white steepled churches on nearly every town green in New England, in fellowships across America, in UU societies around the globe. Unitarian Universalists can embrace that a universal expectation the flaming chalice, is a significant component of our faith. Covenant is another foundational element of the UU faith movement. Unitarian Universalism is not a creedal faith, it's a covenantal faith. More properly said, we are a covenantal faith. We promise each other to behave in certain ways and create common aspirations. We set our lives around the praxis of living out the promises we make to one another. In doing so, we choose to acknowledge the value of centrality, of organization, of community, and to embrace the practice of covenanting among congregations. That would be like between congregations. First and foremost, it is our promises that hold us together. A covenant, a promise, can only exist with intention and can only be kept alive with attention. Covenant is essential to what UU is, and we're inattentive to it at our peril. It is a source of strength, focus, clarity, and mission. While congregations and individuals know this to be true, many still have little enthusiasm for the idea of the practice of covenant. Some of you may feel that way. How can we lift up the practice of covenant? How can we remind ourselves of it, celebrate it, use it as a source of strength to sustain us and guide us in social transformation and the creation of a more just world? One way is to study covenants, discuss them, write them, build on knowledge gained in doing so, to ritualize covenant. To be meaningful and transformative for us as individuals, as congregations, as an association, and a faith movement, our covenant must be a living experience. That living experience must be ongoing. Covenants grow and adapt, they're reviewed and renewed. Quite often, review leads to changes in the words of our covenant, but equally as often, they stay the same after review. What matters is this: the ongoing process of assessment and rejuvenation. Living experience makes covenant a vital force. So covenant is interconnected with mission and vision. Back in 2018, we had a visioning workshop that was really quite fertile and resulted in, for one thing, this screen, this beautiful screen. That was one of the outcomes of our visioning workshop. Mission, I think, is something that we also need to work on, but I think it makes sense for us to start with covenant. We have some statements that are very mission-like. For example, the two on the front of our order of service, as well as one on our homepage of our webpage. But for today, I don't know, could you raise your hand if you happen to have read what the sample or the draft covenant that came out with your order of service? Okay, so some of us did, and I have copies of that for us to discuss in our small groups. And a word of caution, one of the things that makes the covenantal process the most frustrating and interrupted is excessive wordsmithing, which UUs are very well known to do, because we're very analytical and critical thinkers, which is good. But anyway, this covenant that you're going to look at later in our service is very much a draft, hoping for input from all participants. So before we go into our small groups, we're going to have a closing song. Yeah, it's just it's a quick service today, so that we have plenty of time to talk with each other. So we are singing number 1028 in Singing the Living Journey. Oh yeah, we'll stand as you're willing and able.
From the light of
we don't do the offering on our shortened services. We had to cut out a bunch of stuff. So thank you very much, Cheryl, for the beautiful music. And Cole, I'd like us to stay online if we can just a little longer. Are we still up? Yeah. We're still streaming? Okay. So Charlotte has offered to be a Zoom host for a small group conversation. If you're streaming us right now, there's a Zoom link in the announcements that came out from Marianne on Friday. Before we count off into 5 small groups, I'd like us all to look at the second page inside the order of service, and let's say together this small group ministry covenant. I honor the safety of the group by listening to others with an open heart. I refrain from crosstalk, judgment, or giving advice. I share as deeply as I can when it's my turn. I will not gossip about what is shared in the group and will tell only my own story to others. So most of you have probably experienced one of these sessions, but there's going to be 3 rounds of sharing today. During each round, one person speaks at a time. I know we've gotten sometimes a little lax about the protocol, and I'd like to call it to our attention again because I think it's really important that everybody have equal sound space. So the job of listeners is to listen deeply, keeping their hearts open. Don't be worried about what you're going to say afterwards. For each round, each person takes a minute or 2 to share, and then it moves directly on to the next person. You can choose to pass. So in our small groups, we'll have 3 or 4 people per group. Select a leader who is going to be the facilitator and try to keep things moving along evenly, sharing the sound space, and then a note taker. Select a note taker, and I've been able to read your notes, so that was satisfying. And so we're going to have each group pick up a clipboard. You can pick up a pencil or use your own writing utensil. And each clipboard has blank paper for your notes as well as sample, that is the draft covenant, as well as notes from each of the groups that discussed the covenant previously. So if you need to refer to, oh, what did I say last time? You can check that and make sure that it got integrated or not into the draft. So first question is going to be, if you were new to a UU church that had this covenant, what would it make you think or feel about this congregation? The next round is, if we were to adopt this covenant, which is a democratic process, it's not going to happen instantly. We have time to weigh and revise. How might it affect your relationship to the fellowship? And thirdly, is there anything that you think should be added, subtracted, or otherwise changed? So we're going to count off, split up, and then meet back here at 12:30 to extinguish the chalice. If your small group is just so hard at work you don't want to come back for the extinguishing, then just keep doing your process. So we're going to count off to in groups of 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, oops. 2, 3.